Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be featuring a fairly old premium, once again, the USS Black, which is a Fletcher class tier 9 premium destroyer, and this is one of the ships that are being removed in 0.9.3, which means right now you can buy it for steel, but it's in 0.9.3. It's going to be removed from the armory and then probably re-added like 6 months later for coal. So if you got steel saved up, now is the question, is it worth getting for steel? Now when this ship first came out, I considered it quite overpowered. The combination of smoke plus radar is honestly brutal. That's the gimmick of the Black. I'll get into those more. And I consider this thing extremely powerful. But those things have changed a bit. Mostly because the competition has gotten so much more brutal. Or, to put it quite simply, power creep happens. Starting off, the health pool on the Black, well, it's okay. 17.1k, it's really not that special. The only thing that the few ships that have less health are basically the pure torpedo boats like the Benham and the Yugota, the Yuguma and the Östergötland. Basically everyone else has more health. Even the Jutland has 18.4, even though the Jutland has a heal. The Kitagaze has well over 20k. These are ships I will be comparing it to a fair bit because it's in a way some of its direct competition. It also has some weaknesses compared to the Fletcher, namely that it only does 35 knots, whereas Fletcher does 36.5. So the Black is 1.5 knots slower than the Fletcher, and Fletcher isn't really a speed demon to begin with. It's occasionally fast, but the Black is a very slow destroyer. Even the Kitagaze does 36 knots in comparison. And obviously you don't have a speed boost because you're running the same set of consumables. If you run any other set of consumables, you're basically a potato, because what makes the Fletcher unique is this combination of radar plus smoke. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility here. You do have the great concealment though, 5.8, which is very useful. Plane spotting is 2.6, also quite low. RPF is pointing in front of me, so obviously I'm going to try to close the distance with a destroyer here. The idea is with my Neptune right behind me, if I catch any DD overextending, like this guy Yamada, I call target on him, and with my Neptune support, I should be able to melt this guy very quickly indeed. Fletcher DPM, it's okay. Not exactly going to win any prizes, but against other deities, it's quite okay. At this point, I'm a bit surprised what's going on. I pop my, because there's been no Neptune shells, and I pop my radar, and this is where I notice, much to my surprise, that the Neptune behind me has actually already died. So I didn't realize, I thought I was going to have support here, so I kind of let this Gajamada get away. I think I could have gotten the kill if I had committed a bit harder, but I honestly expected it would be 2 versus 1, not just me shooting and my Neptune kind of gliding out of his smoke and dying. So, the game is off to a rocky start. Moving on, maneuverability though, it does have Fletcher's rudder shift, 3 seconds, very good. It also has Fletcher's turning circle, 560 meters, basically the best among DDs at tier 9. So, in terms of agility, it does handle very well, and American DDs in general stop and accelerate quite well as well. 5 guns, turret is amazing. It's like something like 5 seconds, 180 degrees, very fast. So getting turrets on the target won't be an issue, and the firing angles are also quite good in general. Base range is 12.8, 12.9-ish, something like that. Actually, it says 12.8 here, but I thought it was 12.9. Whatever. The reload is 3.3 seconds. You might build for guns though, because for the Black, they tend to be a big part of your output, but you can mix and match it with your torpedoes as well. Speaking of the DPM, it used to be pretty great. It does 162k base DPM, which is Fletcher's DPM, but the days of that being impressive for tier 9 DD has kind of changed. These are some of the things that I mentioned have changed a lot. The power creep basically has happened. The Jutland does 153k, but obviously you can shoot AP in the Jutland and it does the same AP DPM as this thing, and of course Jutland also has fast acting smokes and it's got heal more importantly. So it's got other gimmicks, and then the likes of Kitakaze of course has far more DPM at 192, Friesland has 233k, so in terms of DPM it's pretty far from the top. From the front, so to say. The fire chance is also very low, and base chance 5%, which even been built, when you build for it you get somewhat decent fire chance, but the base fire chance is actually some of the worst among DDs. So not really a good HE spammer. AP wise, it's American standard AP. The pen is underwhelming to say the least. I mean, at very close ranges, and of course at broadsides, like most DDs you can farm, but don't expect anything like, for example, Mogador's Citadel capacity, or even Tashkent's or Friesland's kind of capacity. You're not going to be seeing that. It's an okay gunboat. It does its job. DPM wise, of course, 189k, not anything special. I overturn here actually, and I end up turning into Alaska's radar range. That's why I don't smoke up here, because if I smoke up now, he's gonna instantly radar me, and that will be a wasted smoke. Well, not wasted, traded for radar, but I take the risk of turning out instead. And Alaska has AP loaded, so I get away with turning out, and now I just wiggle my ship to try to survive as long as possible. I land some torps on the shores as well, and the torps will be the next thing we talk about. Now, I'm actually not running the optimal torpedo build here, because I'm not running the... chat requested a black game, because they haven't seen me play black for a long time, and this is of course in the latest patch where they have changed the modules. So I'm just running the standard torpedoes, which are 13.7 with torpedo acceleration. So instead of doing an abysmal 43 knots, they do 48 knots. However, there's a new module in the third slot that gives you 5% speed, and if I had been running that, these torps would be doing 50 knots. Not a big difference, but keep in mind that my torps could be a whole 2 knots faster. So with torpedo acceleration, instead of 13.7, you have the 11 km torpedo range that you see here. The torps are incredibly stealthy though, at 0.9, but obviously having very slow but very stealthy torps isn't really that good. Mostly because, well, defensive AA has been neutered to the point that it's completely useless. Wargaming has gone out of their way to butcher defensive AA. So pretty much everyone is running Hydro nowadays. That wasn't the case back in the day, but these days pretty much every cruiser is running Hydro because defensive AA is just so damn useless. The other thing is the new module that I think gives you 1.8 km torpedo spotting. Oh, a lot of potatoes will be running it, and against these incredibly slow torpedoes, if you spot these from 1.8 km away, they are very, very easy to dodge because they are so slow. However, the rune surprisingly appears to be going straight into my torps. I assume he wants to push me or trying to somehow flank around this. The torps are slow, but they will catch him, and what they do have to make up for all these other weaknesses is alpha damage. The torpedoes hit like a truck. They hit for, I think, 21.6k each, and you can launch 10 of them. The DPM is pretty high, but obviously torps are so stupidly slow that that kind of makes up for it. They reload fairly quickly though, in 96 seconds, and you can throw out a fair amount of them during a game, but actually landing them, because of the reasons that I mentioned, Hydro, and in general them being so very unreliable, any small course change will throw off your torpedo aim entirely if you're trying to torpedo from range. Back in the day, radar wasn't nearly as prevalent either, so you could go closer in torpedo. You can't really do that anymore. Fletcher is in the camp. I catch him with a radar. I don't have smoke available, but at this point I'm afraid we're gonna lose the game unless I do something drastic. So I take the risk of getting this ambush, and with the help of the Mayoko, maybe getting a lot of damage in on this Fletcher. Because, well, my team has all gone up to the north. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to my team. My team has been abysmal this game. They all sailed up to the north, so it's been kind of been up to me and, at this point, I guess this Nachi to defend this base. I had an Nelson, but he died very quickly, so I've had the enjoyable job of trying to defend this camp against multiple DDs and radars and all sorts of things. I weave my ship back and forth. This is something I recommend when you're under fire. You just weave your booty back and forth. Note that I damage con the single fire. Normally I wait longer before using damage con to make sure I can go undetected. But the reason I did it was because I'm far enough away that even if I get set on fire, they won't see me. And I was playing greedy. I wanted to conserve my 3000 health because I'm already so low. And if I let the fire burn, that would mean a lot of lost health. Nachi is actually pushing in. I would love for him to actually shoot the shores. I'm calling target on him, so if he's going to shoot anything, please shoot the shores. Because it looks like he's going in for some sort of YOLO. Spoiler alert, he ends up not shooting the shores. AA-wise, this is one of those things that once upon a time and maybe used to be pretty okay for the black, since it kind of had Fletcher hull and all that things. But these days the AA is basically a complete joke. And you have like 4 flak you can throw up, so you're extremely vulnerable against carriers. You do, however, have these long-lasting American smokes, which are very powerful. They last, what, 2 minutes? Something like 2 minutes, and they have a long cooldown, obviously. In general, short smokes with short duration with short cooldown is better, but on the opposite side, black is a fantastic team playing DD. Because you can smoke up your teammates. And when you smoke them up, you get a 30-second action time on the smoke, and then the smoke lasts for 127 seconds. Almost more than 2 minutes, that is. The cooldown is 152, but that means there's only this small gap. Well, 152 with the Jack of all trades flag, what is it called? November Foxtrot. So you can get it down to 152 seconds, which means there's only really, what, a 25-second gap between smoke ending and you being able to deploy a second smoke. Obviously, this is extremely effective when playing in divisions. And in fact, that's what the black does well. The strengths that I've highlighted, radaring, especially the radar and the smoke, means that you're great at hunting DDs. Because you got 5.8 km concealment, you got a radar that is 7.5 km range. So what this means is that you can push into a DD, spot him, or he might spot you, regardless, and you can start firing, you can instantly smoke up, and if he gets undetected or smokes up, then you can pop your radar, and if you run the radar module, you get like 26 seconds of free farm on that guy using the radar. So what you hard counter in the black is other DDs. You're extremely good. There are of course exceptions. Friesland can just straight up charge you with Hydro, that's pretty rough. Mogador can just potentially also YOLO you because, or he can blind fire you in your smoke. There are issues of course, and you might just get Torp, radar, whatever. But in general, in 1 versus 1 fights against other DDs, black is the king. Not because of the DPM, not because of the health, not because of the speed, but because of the consumables. Smoke plus radar is a brutal combination, and it generally gives you an advantage in almost all gunfights, as long as you can use them. I shoot some shells on the Alaska. Once again, I'm desperately trying to keep my team in this game, so I reset the Alaska because my turret seems to be failing at it. And I managed to barely survive, basically spit and grit holding my ship floating at this point. I'm down to 155 health. Finally though, it seems my team has done whatever they wanted in the north, and I'm starting to get some support down here in the south. This game has highlighted some of the issues that the black has, namely even though it's extremely good against DDs, it's rather poor against everything else. Your torps are so slow and so hard to land that if the enemy has any sort of zoning tools, you are forced to go through the DD lineup first. Basically, you need to kill the DDs because if they spot the torps, they're never gonna hit anything. Spotted black torps is like the least threatening thing in the world. They are very easy. Like many ships are faster. The French DDs are straight up faster than these. But on the other hand, in a division, the black is brutal. Division, a black with any sort of HE spammer, for example, that benefits from your smoke, and it's brutal because then you have something to deal with spotted DD, spotted cruisers, spotted DD is something that can farm BBs. And you just synergize extremely well. So the black generally needs support. Battleships, especially Hydra battleships, you can't really do much about them. You can launch your torps, but if they spot them with Hydra, they have all the time in the world. Cruisers, because they're running Hydra these days, because of the way wargaming has brutalized defensive AA. They also tend to generally ignore your torpedoes. So you're stuck mostly often dealing damage with your guns and not your torpedoes. This game is a bit of an exception because I managed to land a lot of torpedoes, which for a black game is very rare. Anyone who owns the black will agree with me. Landing a lot of torps in the black is rare, unless you get some sort of YOLO off. Basically you rush a battleship and you get to launch the torps point blank. Black is pretty okay at that. Not because it's fast and tanky, but because if you do get your torps off, they have so much alpha damage that you can devastate pretty much any target in the game. However, otherwise landing them is rough. So you're stuck with your guns and your gun DPM is underwhelming, you don't have any improved penetration, your HE DPM is poor, you can't really open water gunboat because you're too slow, and your range and shell velocity is too poor to do any sort of weaving and long range gunboating, so you're stuck mostly sitting in smoke and firing. That's how you deal your damage. Most of the damage, in case you're landing these torpedoes, is sitting in smoke and farming HE. And hoping you don't get radared or pushed or whatever, or even torpedoed. So, and once you run out of your consumables, which at this it doesn't happen often, especially since I run Superintendent on this build, I think. But if you do run, then obviously you basically get out-traded by almost every other DD in the game. That's just the way the black works. Which is okay, because the combination that it has, this smoke plus radar combo, is brutally strong. I know the Alaska wants to get into the cap, but if he goes straight, he's gonna dodge my torps. So I smoke up to shoot to make him turn in, hopefully pop radar. And it looks like he did in fact turn in. Might have even used his radar. We kite away, we put this huge smoke between me and him. And then we just sit outside of his radar range and farm. Yeah, I know he eventually wants to get into the cap. That's why I launched those incredibly slow sea mines towards the objective, because I know that's where he's eventually going to be moving. And these slow sea mines eventually will catch him. He will not be fast enough to dodge them. And in killing the Alaska, I actually somehow get a Kraken in this game. This has been, to put it simply, a very rough game to carry, because my team has not been making this experience easy for me. I do not know, like if you look at the minimap, you can see just how many ships died up in the top right corner. Black shines in domination battles and pretty damn good in epicenter as well, because there are central objectives to fight over, and when it comes to getting cap control, the black is brutally good at it thanks to that long duration smoke, and of course thanks to the radar. You can push in, you can radar other DDs, and you can zone them out at the objective and get objective control. That's what the black does best. It's one of its greatest strengths. Now, this game, I have to keep telling my team to get back because my Changmu almost suicides into this last DD, but we don't need to show it for 2 minutes. It's heart-crushing enough to basically herd cats and try to keep them alive, because if anyone dies, we'll lose. But we do manage to outlast the last 2 minutes. And this game does end up in our win. 7 torpedo hits, only the Kraken, 127k, not really that impressive. But this was a standard battle, which for a black is a pretty brutal experience. 5 kills, 4 cap resets, 6 spotted targets, basic DD stuff. Team score wise, only 2.2k base. I was top tier, which obviously helps. But overall, facing Alaska is never fun in this thing. Well, facing Alaska in any ship isn't fun. That's one of the ships I'm also going to make a commentary on, because Alaska is so damn good. I really love the Alaska, and it's one of my highly recommended premiums. Detailed report-wise, only 30k spotting, even though I was kind of alone in a spawn trying to keep our team alive this entire time. Surprisingly, 7 torpedoes landed, which for a black that doesn't YOLO someone is a surprising amount. 114 gun hits, but couldn't really utilize my smokes much because I kept getting radared out of them. This is the black when things don't go your way. This game was when things don't really go your way in the black. There are games where you can just sit in the smoke and you can just farm a battleship that pushes in, and you can farm him for 2 minutes, and every now and then he hits some of your torpedoes, and then his teammates hit some of your torpedoes. Those are the optimal games. But those really don't happen that often anymore. And is the black worth the steal? That's a pretty rough question, and in my opinion, no, it is not. If there was still some competitive game mode that utilized tier 9 ships, like back in the day, black in tier 9 ranked was brutally strong. Because if you kill the enemy DDs, you basically won the ranked match. That's how ranked tended to work. So black used to be super, super powerful. But Wargaming has made basically everything tier 10. And it doesn't look like they're about to change their mind about that anytime soon, so it's all going to be tier 10. So that leaves us with random battles. And in random battles, when you can bring out things like the Benham, well, I don't know if you can bring it anymore, but the Benham, which is brutally overpowered, or just incredibly strong ships like the Jutland or the Kitakaze, both Kitakaze especially, which is very borderline overpowered. When you can bring out those, or then you can even bring out the Mogador, when you got all this firepower available to you, black's amazing strength of being able to radar and smoke really isn't that overwhelming anymore. I don't know what that says about power creep. I still think the ship is overpowered, but it's only overpowered against DDs, if you understand what I mean. And in a sense, it kind of makes the ship okay. Because if you face a good black player, he's probably going to kill all your DDs, but he's not going to do a whole lot else unless he gets really lucky with the torpedoes. And I'm not sure if you can call that balance, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And honestly, with the state of tier 10 being so highly prioritized and all the available other ships, no. Black is not worth it for the steel. It might be worth it for the coal later on. That depends on the price of the ship. Let me show you guys my recommended build for this ship. Right, as always, let me start with the modules. Just run premium everything. The black needs it. You can't get away really with skimping with anything here. Upgrade wise, turret and torpedo tube survival, followed by extended radar duration. If you don't have this module, then go for the engine room upgrade. Faster torpedoes, this is the one that I wasn't actually running in the commentary. I think I still had AA guns on or something, but the AA guns mod 1 has been brutalized by Wargaming. It's useless these days, so just slot the torpedo tube mod for faster torps. The black absolutely needs that. Acceleration, because your rudder shift is god tier. Concealment and gunpowder, main battery reload to make, because ultimately that's what you're going to be relying on, and that's considering how many 1 versus 1 fights you want to take with other DDs. It makes sense to build for that fight. Captain build wise, priority target, followed by last stand, survivability expert, concealment expert. That's the standard DD build. At this point, we do take some changes compared to the average DD. First of all, I really like torpedo acceleration. 5 knots might not seem much to something like a Shima, but 5 knots to a black is a huge deal, and it really helps you land torpedoes because they're otherwise so glacially slow. I also greatly like RPF, because ultimately you want to be hunting enemy DDs, and RPF literally points you at the nearest target, and well, if you can't spot it, then it's probably a DD, which is exactly what you want to be hunting, so pretty damn foolproof. And finally, of course, Superintendent, because if you do get those long games that drag out, it's very useful. Now, something like basic firing training is probably not a bad choice either, but ultimately, if once black runs out of consumables, it just becomes such a weak ship that I just prefer Superintendent for them. Because if you take a fight and you lose it, you can smoke up radar and kind of turn it into your advantage, and then you can come back later and do it again, which is ultimately better than the 10% reload from BFT. That is at least my justification. Flag wise, wow, I wasn't running the speed flag, really? I wasn't even running the demolition flag. These are two I think absolutely should be ran on a destroyer. Fire chance, incredibly useful. Wow, I think, damn, the build I was running when I played, I was really making life extra hard for myself, huh? Fire chance flags, obviously, speed, demo, faster consumables, thank god I was running that one at least. And that's pretty much it. After that you can run stuff like credit flags, because ultimately it is a premium. Anyway, that was my black commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you feel like it, I do appreciate the support, both on Twitch and on YouTube. If you feel like dropping a sub, thank you very much. If not, I still enjoyed that you watched the video. I'll talk to you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed it.